All right. So as we get started here, I just thought I would begin with a very simple overview of what it looks like to have a project ready to go at this point. There are a lot of different ideas about how you might want to assemble a project, at what point you go into Audition to do your actual multi-track work. But for me, it makes a lot of sense to spend as much time as possible outside of that interface. You'll see why that might be as we start to get started. But, I like to have almost all of my ingredients prepared for my story before I enter multitrack and begin assembling the thing. So let me show you the way I have that set up. I've got this folder here called December 15th wrapping paper. This is actually a story we're going to be working with. It's by one of our KBIA reporters named Christopher Husted, and he did this report for Marketplace. We're going to use this as a basis to build out our story. So if you look, the first thing I've got here is an actual script. It's just a Word document. Everything keeps opening on the other screen here. This Word document is, just exactly what you'd expect from a basic script. Nothing too out of the ordinary. We've got all of our clips here. They're marked separately, so here's the host intro. I'm actually going to read that for us. Then we have Husted 1. We have some actualities or acts, and these are quotes from other individuals. And all the way through, we've got Chris's reads, which are labeled Husted 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we've got these acts, and we've got a little scripting here for some ambient sound. So this gives us sort of a basic framework of what the story we're going to be looking at is going to be like, and it tells us what we're going to need to assemble. So we're going to be coming back to this from time to time as we assemble this project. The next thing I want to look at is the actualities that we have. In this actualities folder, you'll see I've actually pulled out most of these already. These are not the full interviews with these people. This is an individual sound clip of just this person talking, and it's just the quote they have. So let me play one of those for you. It's going to open up in Audition's waveform view here. So this is almost a completely different application from what the multi-track one looks like. And it's very easy to edit just a little chunk with this. If you've taken B1 here at KBIA, you'll know what that's like already.
We're watching HGTV. We're looking at Pinterest a lot, yes, and Instagram, and looking at what's just out in fashion forward stores.
So it's exactly what you might expect if we're talking about assembling some sort of piece. This is just the quote that's actually going to appear in the final piece. I've gone through and I've pulled out all of those already. This way I don't have to be messing with giant interviews inside the multi-track editor. Similarly, if you look here, I have gone through and made a folder called Reads. Inside this folder called Reads are every single every single narration that Chris has already assembled. So if I double click on Houston 01, you will see same thing.
At the Plaza Shopping Center in Kansas City, customers bring their purchases to Melissa Anderson. She's been wrapping gifts here for 5 years. Today, she's wrapping a box from a clothing store. The off-white paper has ornately interlocking gold lines. She says opening a beautifully wrapped gift is an experience.
So just like with those interviews, I've taken out the chunks that I'm going to be using already. So everything is ready to go and be mixed into this larger format. I don't have to worry about how it's going to come together, with these huge pieces, and I don't know which ones I'm going to use. I've already done all the planning. I've already figured out what those pieces look like. I'm going to be getting into the program to figure out how it goes together, and that's it. All right. So at this point, that's what I've got for the actualities and the reads. Nats and ambi are assembled in a similar way. I don't have a lot of nats or ambi for this particular story because, as you heard in one of those interview clips, we sort of get a little bit of ambi from the surroundings just because of the way the interviews were conducted. We've got a little bit that we're going to be working with to try and smooth that out a little, but we're not going to be using these too much in this particular kind of story. So we've got all the ingredients that we're going to be mixing together to make our final piece already. So at this point, we are ready to dive into the multi-track editor and Audition and see what that's going to be like.